I'll be the roundabout. The words will make you out and out. I spend the day your way. Call it morning driving through the sound and in and out the valley.
Huh. What, is that a limerick? What was that?
That's from the song Roundabout by Yes.
Oh, really?
You got to brush up on your 70s prog rock.
I don't know anything about 70s.
Well,
if it's not Peter, Paul, and Mary, I don't know what it is.
Oh boy, a little too much time with Puff the Magic Dragon.
Well, I lived by the sea.
I guess better late than never. We are the Community Solutions Podcast, here at you for another week, episode 30.
Hey.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a few golf classes.
We're making some progress. My name is Jason Bradley, and with me, as always, Mr. Andrew Richter.
Jay, another week and another fun subject. Another good story from me and a few more question marks. I think we're going to have more questions than answers at the end of this show.
Wow. So
usually we answer the questions. We're playing Jeopardy now. We're the opposite today.
I don't know if anybody has the answers.
Yeah.
There's some funky stuff going on. If any of you have ever been over to Europe, well, it doesn't. You don't have to go to Europe now. I mean, they're here. I quoted the lyrics from the song "Roundabout" today because that is our subject matter. We are talking roundabouts.
Can I just start the program by saying, this is another. I'll tell you what. I've spent all day studying roundabouts. The sacrifices we go through in our lives to bring you this information is incredible, because roundabouts are right up there with like nails on a chalkboard or something of things that absolutely drive me berserk. So we're talking about another subject that I look in the mirror and I see my hair thinning, and I tell you what, roundabouts are one of the reasons why. And I got a good roundabout story that we'll get to in a little bit. But Jay, you got the roundabout history.
Well,
or some.
I'll get there in a roundabout manner.
Oh, okay. Well, in a roundabout way.
Roundabouts are also called traffic circles, road circles, rotary, rotundas, or islands. I've never heard of that. I've just heard of them called roundabouts, and then usually hear people cuss after they say
4-letter words. We should change roundabout. We should get a 4-letter abbreviation for roundabout so it becomes a 4-letter word.
Oh, they're terrible. Anyways, why talk about them? Well, as we go through comprehensive plans and as we look at things that the Department of Transportation have talked about, and as we look into the things that the Met Council wants cities in the metro to put into their comprehensive plans, roundabouts come up a lot. And not just that, we find that as we go into greater Minnesota and we look at their comprehensive plans, and not just that, we drive on the roads.
Highway 7
out near Hutchinson, there's a roundabout. You're leaving the cities, and there's some crazy ones up there off of 35.
And here's another thing. You may not find a roundabout referenced by name in a comprehensive plan. What they'll say is, well, we should have a study at this intersection to seek alternatives or something like that.
Traffic calming measures.
Yeah, you'll have code words that you have to see. So sometimes roundabouts are mentioned in a roundabout way.
Yes.
But not, they know that roundabouts, saying that word brings out the passion that then they have to sell it to the community, and they don't like having to do that.
Right.
So just be aware that you're right, but it'll be worded differently in most comprehensive plans.
So for those of you who have given in to the way that development occurs now, you're part of transit-oriented development, you live in mixed use building over a shop, you take the train downtown, you don't know what a roundabout is. Maybe you live under a rock.
All 4 of you listening who live that way.
It's basically where there's no stop signs, and you have a circle in the middle of 4 roads, and you go around the circle until you leave on one of the other roads.
And sometimes it's not that simple. But
no.
Yeah. That's generally speaking what a roundabout is.
Right. So they'll have an island in the middle. They'll put some greenery. They'll put some shrubbery. Whatever.
Which, by the way, is the stupidest idea, and I'll explain why.
I've seen ones that look like there's not a semi-truck on the earth that could make it around the roundabout, the way that they're set up.
Emergency vehicles. Spinning around when it's icy.
Yeah, everybody knows that when you turn, when it's icy out, it always ends well.
Yeah, of course.
Always.
But yet, Jay, they are here.
Yeah.
And they are slowly growing in number.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they go all the way back to the 1700s.
Right. So what's the first roundabout you encountered? Do you know which one it is?
Actually, yes.
I do too.
But this, again, is not fair, because it was around the L'Arc de Triomphe in Paris, France.
Oh, okay.
So that's a little different. The first one here was probably the one in Grand Rapids up by their hospital.
That was the second one for me.
Yeah.
My first was the one in Richfield on 66th and... I can't remember what the other street is. I don't know if it's Penn or if it is...
Might be.
And I will tell you, it was 4 something in the afternoon, and I nearly got my head chopped off a few times trying to go around that thing. It was horrible. I can't... Rich... I'm trying to think of exactly where it was. 66th and Lyndale, maybe?
Maybe.
It was... somewhere in Richfield, north of 494. And so and that was the one, that was maybe 10, 12 years ago. But that Grand Rapids one was number 2.
Yeah, I think Hutchinson was number 2 for me.
Hutchinson would probably be number 3. But having lived in Champlin, living right by one on 117th, and there's another one on Broadway and 117th, going through them, I did everything I could to avoid them.
Yeah.
They're just horrible. And I cannot understand what problem is trying to be... To me, it's a solution in search of a problem.
Well, we always look to how enlightened Europe is, and America's always a little behind. So they started building these circular junctions, these roundabouts, back in the 1700s.
But you went around on a horse and carriage then.
Right. Well, we're just that far behind, that's all.
Right.
We just happened to come up with the car first. The modern assembly line to get the car in the hands of people.
This is true.
But 1907 is when the one I mentioned, the Arc de Triomphe, was built. There was one.
Say that quickly 4 times. No, I'm just kidding.
We're on a time schedule here.
Yeah.
No, 1904 they actually built one in Manhattan. There were a bunch built in Washington D.C., and of course we know the early 1900s. It was full of progressive thought.
New York and Washington. Is that any 2 cities to copy?
No, it never is. They were all over, though, in Germany and France. And 1909 is... there was one built in Letchworth Garden City in England. Anyways... So they started putting these things in, but they weren't really the modern way that we think about it now. The modern ones emerged in the 1990s. That's when they started to get popular here. And
popular with the planners and that, not popular with the masses.
Oh, no. Yeah. We're still waiting for that day. Yeah. So... Back in the 1990s, these things started to pop up in all sorts of planning documents and be pushed by the planning organizations. And, like we mentioned, they're still met with a lot of resistance, and you even see in popular culture, movies and shows, and one of my favorite, The Simpsons, has made fun of roundabouts. But this is interesting. There was a 1998 survey of municipalities found that public opinion, 68% opposed prior to construction. They say that once they were constructed, though, like 73% were in favor. I highly doubt that.
I see that, things like that all the time. The
same studies tend to get quoted.
That's part of the narrative that's out there, is that, people, if we force feed it to people, they will all of a sudden love it. Maybe they found one study out of 100 that actually said that,
right?
And that's the one that gets quoted over and over and over,
right?
So I find roundabouts to be maybe one of the most polarizing things that a local government can possibly undertake.
Right.
I can think of a handful of things that we got. $5,000 assessment on somebody. A huge tax hike. I mean, there's a handful of things that will get people riled up, and a roundabout, without a doubt, is one of them.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you said you had a story. Let's hear a little bit about this story.
I'm down in Mankato for work. The Mankato Best Buy. I went back to Best Buy part-time. I drive down to the store. This was a few weeks ago. And I hadn't been to this Best Buy in like 6 years. Maybe even longer.
Wow.
Been a long time since I worked there.
Okay.
And Mankato's not a city I go to for any reason.
Right.
And it's right off of 22. You take 22 when you get to St. Peter, and when you get into Mankato, the Best Buy is right there off of 22. There is now a roundabout to get into the street to go to the Best Buy. Now, this is a 4-lane road. Okay?
Yeah.
So you have a right turn that is to turn right. Then you have a median. Follow this in your head, folks.
Okay.
Then you have 2 lanes. One, the right lane, is to go straight. The left lane is to keep going left. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm trying to envision it, and yes.
So think of how screwy that is. I'm on the left, and I can't get to the right. Now, in the meantime, some idiot had decided that putting weeds or something in the middle was a good idea. And that is the dumbest thing, because you can't see oncoming traffic.
Right.
You can't see who's whipping around the corner. So you come up, you slow down, you get up there, all of us, they have the right of way, who's in the middle.
Right.
Who's in the round of the roundabout.
Yeah.
And I mean, people were going around the corner. One was going straight, one was turning, one was... I was afraid to drive in there.
Right.
And I nearly got T-boned. I saw one other little fender bender. I saw 2 more near accidents. It was horrible. In fact, I am going to write the city of Mankato. I'm going to tell them that whoever did this is the biggest, without question, babbling idiot on the face of the earth. I'm sure Blue Earth County had something to do with it. I'm sure it was part of some moron's master plan. But I'm going to tell you something. If it had been the middle of December, I don't know that that roundabout is acceptable to be out there.
I guess
a bunch of teenagers going. Old ladies going around that. Everybody understands a stoplight, okay, or a stop sign. Roundabout is just, I can't describe it. I just go down Adams Street off 22 and go through that roundabout in the middle of the afternoon, and you tell me that roundabout solves any problems. Absurd. So, it was beyond description of how bad it was.
Okay, well, I'm thinking about this, though. I mean, they wouldn't
you got that devil's advocate look on your face.
They wouldn't just stick them in for no reason. I mean, there's got to be a good reason why cities, counties, regional government, MATO...
Oh, well, there's only 2 reasons government would do anything.
Want to put them in.
One, money.
Right.
The second one, because they can. And also, this is like if you go to MnDOT's website, okay, MnDOT is pushing these, Minnesota Department of Transportation. They are pushing these things like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
There's videos. I mean, anybody at MnDOT think, if I need a video how to navigate a four-way stop, how does anybody there not go, gee, maybe that's a problem?
Yeah.
It's like, if I had to, have a video on how to, do something simple around the house, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean,
right.
Why? Because one of the things they do on that website is if there's any kind of increase in traffic, accidents, they always blame people saying, well, they just don't know how to navigate it.
Right.
Well, you're the idiots who put it in there. So don't blame us when you put in something that people don't get or understand or aren't used to. It's your fault for doing it.
Exactly. I mean, I can see them sitting back with their smoking jackets and their big cigars going, bap, 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 bap. These idiots don't know how to go around a roundabout.
Yeah, so then my tax dollars pay for a video to show us how to do it.
So why would you put something in that nobody knows how to use? I mean, is that really the problem of the people that they don't know how to use it, or your poor leadership that puts something in that people don't know how to use?
I don't know, but they've got page after page after page about roundabouts on the MnDOT website.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing they always harp on is, we're saving fuel. We're saving car idling. Let me tell you something. I waited at a roundabout for 5 minutes before. Far longer than I've ever waited at a four-way stop. Far longer than you normally wait at a red light. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe that was peak hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I highly doubt, and I'd like some evidence that backs that up. Go find my car and tell me, or my truck, and tell me that I am gaining gas mileage by going through a roundabout. How do you quantify that?
I don't think you can. I don't see how you can. I mean, I suppose they think because you're sitting there less, but as we've discussed, that's not necessarily the case.
Well, and also it's just, again, keep in mind, it's just again, it's that narrative. Mm-hmm. It's out there and it's out there and it's out there.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, they claim a lot of things. I mean, they claim they're safer, they're easier to navigate.
We just proved they weren't.
Yeah,
if they're easy to navigate, why do they have videos on how to navigate them?
Right. But I mean, there's a number of parts to a roundabout. We'll talk about it quick. Just as you have the four roads that come in, you put the pedestrian crossing in before that. So you've got to watch out for people before you can ever watch out for the traffic that's going around the roundabout.
True, and the people can't see the cars whipping around if there's sunflowers in the middle or whatever is being put out there.
Exactly. There is a splitter island, they call it, in the middle that keeps the directional traffic separated. There is the circulatory roadway, which is it's a circle in the middle.
Who was paid to come up with that name?
I don't know. The truck apron, they have a truck apron because they know that trucks can't make it around the roundabout. So they have a special apron that allows the trucks to drive up off of the roundabout onto the apron, and then the central island, which keeps you from going into oncoming traffic when you barrel through the middle of it. That's their safety feature they've built in right there. But yeah, I mean, they put up yield signs at the entry. The size and angles of the entry are designed to slow vehicles down, but people often they're going to drive it whatever feels comfortable.
True.
Sometimes,
and isn't it? How is it? Would it be more safe to have a stop sign there rather than a yield and just drive as whatever speed you feel like driving.
Not according to the Minnesota Department of Transportation.
Oh, they got a great study. The one study that's quoted in every single thing about a roundabout you'll find. Yet, here's what MnDOT claims. They did a study. Now, Jay, let me ask you something. MnDOT has as much information on roundabouts and intersections as the IRS has on us. They know what's going on at every intersection, especially maybe not in roads that are 100% urban, 100% city, but they can get it. The city has it. Now, they did a study in 2014, and you will see this study quoted over and over and over, that took 24 of their 179 roundabouts. Now, they were obviously cherry-picked.
Like almost an eighth.
Yeah, that's about 13%.
Yeah.
Now, if I were going to find out how well kids were doing in school, I could easily make it look good by cherry-picking 24 out of 179, couldn't I?
Yeah.
So, let's start with that. This is a very small, I would argue, sample.
Right.
These cities met a certain criteria that I think is also telling.
Right.
They had 3 years of information beforehand, 3 years of information after.
Yeah.
And there's no information about an individual roundabout in there. Some may be working well, some may be working terrible.
Right.
I don't have any idea what's what. And these are the claims they make. We've seen an 89% reduction in fatal crashes. A 74% reduction in life-altering injuries, whatever that means.
Somebody loses a leg.
You're paraplegic, you lose an arm. I don't know, you can't go to the bathroom for a week. I don't know what life-altering injuries means. I mean, lose an eye, it's undefined. 39% decrease in all crashes.
All crashes.
Now, first off, that's misleading. Because if two people bump bumpers, often the police are not called.
Right.
You might exchange insurance info. So, how do they know? How are those crashes counted? If you and I bumped into each other at 5 miles an hour, we might stop, exchange phone numbers, exchange insurance companies. Hey, I'll get the car checked out.
Yeah.
But we don't call the cops. So how does that get reported as an accident? It doesn't.
Right.
So how can you make claims like this when we know off the top that this is incomplete? Yet, actually, look. I wonder how many of you city engineers out there, pulling in six figures. I mean, you city planners actually made 2 little clicks on MnDOT's website and took a look at their 6-page study. They spared no expense.
Right.
And actually, Jay, interpret those numbers for me. No, folks, we're at MnDOT roundabouts, and there's a safety section, and on there's a study with a link to 6 pages of so-called data in typical government speak.
Well, so-called data is right. And it's funny. I mean, they're talking about single-lane roundabouts. They're making a lot of double-lane roundabouts now.
True.
And those are not included in this data, for one. So even if the data in here is true, it's still only partial because the dual or double lane roundabouts are not included.
And I'd like to see how the other 155 are doing.
I would too. I think that why would you cherry pick?
And these 24 should be broken down. We should be seeing. I'd like to see. Maybe it's working great somewhere.
Yeah.
But we talk about this all the time. This one-size-fits-all vision.
Right.
We got a roundabout here, we have to have one 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 here. That thinking.
Right. Yeah, well, they do throw a lot of facts and figures at you, but they really don't explain anything. And that's what's... usually when you do studies, you cite the studies that were used. You point back to facts and figures. There's some sort of bibliography or something, and there's nothing here. There's not even, even a map would have a key as to, hey, this is a bridge, this is a river, this is a lake. That, instead, we get thrown these terms like K severity, A injury severity, B injury severity, C injury severity, PDO injury severity,
which has increased.
That one has actually increased. And that's funny that that is property damage only. That one it does explain in there, but the other ones it doesn't tell us what it is.
So property damage only would be just if our cars got bumped, but we were fine.
Right.
So that's gone up.
That has
Yet
gone
all
up.
crashes somehow have gone down. What kind of crash is most common? Two people sideswiping each other or T-boning. Mm-hmm. So how is it that has gone up, yet overall crashes has gone down?
Exactly. And let's go through those numbers. I mean, it's saying total crashes before 231, total crashes after 209.
Is that a 39% decrease?
That doesn't look like
maybe 10%.
That's a 30 increase.
Not a decrease. Yeah,
that's what that is.
I know I went to Cooper, but that's not a 39% decrease.
It is not really even 30. It is like 28. So
we're looking at maybe a 10, 12, 14%.
Crashes, yeah.
So their own data doesn't back up.
Yeah.
Their own. That's how I read it too. I don't get it.
Right.
I mean, should this? They just rely on people not to look at this stuff.
Yeah. Oh boy. So, K severity before 5, after 1. A injury severity before 8, after 2.
So wait a minute. On all of these roundabouts, all 24 of them, there were only 239 accidents, went down to 209?
231 to 209.
So that's less
in the intersections.
That's less than 1 per roundabout.
Yeah.
That was justification to do this? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huge reduction. All the money spent and all this money studying, all the money bribing municipalities to do this, and less than 1 crash between 24 roundabouts.
Yeah. Yep. So, I suppose maybe K might stand for a death because there were 5 of them, and then
5
after was
in
1.
24.
24 intersections, yeah, and now there's 1. I mean, and value of human life, that's great. We saved 4 people.
I understand that, but they're making it sound in an 89% reduction, which that would be 80, not 89.
Right.
They're claiming that sounds like a lot. It sounds like we're going from 2,000 people dying to 200. But when you actually dive in the numbers, well, they're really 5 deaths in 24 intersections in 3 years?
Right.
That doesn't sound like much to me. I'm sorry they're gone, but it could have been circumstances. It could have been a drunk driver. It could have been...
It doesn't break that down.
It could have been icy conditions. It could have been a truck that tipped over. I mean... A
pedestrian dressed in black at night. It could have been... Yeah.
How do we know that wasn't just accidents? And how many have gone from 0 to 0? If you go from 5 in 24, that means 19 of them at least had no deaths. Therefore, there was no reason to make these changes.
For that reason.
Well, yeah, true.
Let's get through the rest of the numbers here. The A injury severity, 8 before and 2 after.
Okay.
B injury severity, 37 before, 13 after.
So what's B severity?
Maybe A severity is like you lose a limb. B severity is like
broken leg or something.
Broken leg. I don't know. Because then there's C injury severity. Maybe that's like a sore neck.
Yeah, that's whiplash or something.
C injury severity, 64 before, 36 after. But then we get into property damage only. Before there were 117. After 157.
Yet all crashes somehow are down 39%.
Right. So 157. I mean, that increased by
20%, maybe.
A lot. Yeah. 40. 40 crashes. So there were 40 more property only
if we're
crashes
reading
than
this
before.
right. I don't know that we're reading this right. I'll tell you what. Lakeville, 2015, put a wonderful roundabout in. You talk about interesting crash numbers.
Yeah.
The first 2 months that this was in place, 44 accidents. Now you think about 231 crashes total, 44 accidents, and 2 roundabouts. At a total cost, this is like a whole little project that was going on, $11.8 million.
Do you know which ones? Are there only 2 in Lakeville? Because there was one Lakeville included in the study. But
that study's in 2014,
okay.
So it does not apply.
Oh, it does not apply.
Yeah, there's more than 200 roundabouts now.
Yeah.
And this is being tied to grant money.
Right.
The Met Council, there's a story here out of Woodbury I'm reading from the Woodbury Bulletin, where an overall $860,000 grant from the Met Council, $100,000 from Livable Community Fund. Also, you're looking at a total of $11.3 million in grant money being doled out from the Met Council to build these things. So these things are being pushed everywhere, and the same narrative is being pushed everywhere. True or not? The U.S. Department of Transportation claims fatalities down 78 to 82% on these intersections.
Yeah, and I see that here. They're doing a comparison. It says FA rate. I suppose that's the fatality rate. And it says 82.6 decrease, but the rate 3.95 to 0.69. I mean, it's not like we're talking about a lot of people.
I still don't see how it's justification for doing this. I still don't see how it's justification for putting roundabouts in everywhere. And how are you picking and choosing these intersections? I mean, why is one intersection getting done and another one not getting done? What's the criteria being used?
You're saying you want them at every intersection?
No, I'm saying definitely not. But take the one in Golden Valley, by the old Honeywell there.
Yeah.
That just got put in very, very recently, and somebody explained to me why it got put in there. What was the reasoning behind that being changed from a light? I'm talking about over by Sandburg.
Right.
Why is that now a roundabout? You got school buses coming out of there. You got young people. How is a roundabout? What problem is being solved by that roundabout being there?
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Neither did anybody in Golden Valley. I mean, it's just part of the project. Somebody else was paying for it. That's the rationale that you're going to hear.
I mean, coming out of Honeywell, I assume some people are going to head north, but a lot of people are going to head down to Luce Street to go to 100. Some people will go south toward 55. I mean, but they might be. I don't know. They're working on that section of road now. Are they going to put in another roundabout south of there? Golden Valley seems to be
one of these, like St. Louis Park. It's one of these cities that they're trying to copy St. Louis Park.
Right.
In fact, we're going to have to do a show on Golden Valley soon because there's a plan that came out in the Sun Post that I'm going to rip apart on the blog. But there's...
Was the plan, let's just do what St. Louis Park does?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't worded that way, but it might as well have been.
Might as well have been.
So, you know, the point of the whole show, folks, is to, A, challenge these statistics that you're hearing. Number 2, you're going to hear them quoted. You're going to hear one study quoted. You're not going to see anybody do any more deeper research than that. And if you hate roundabouts, we're with you. And you need to speak up. And you need to speak up now. Because I guarantee you, if one isn't by you, in the next 5 to 10 years, one is probably being planned.
Yep. And this is where it gets tricky, though. Sometimes, a lot of times when city staff bring stuff to a city council, they bring one side. They bring the sales piece. Oftentimes, just with a little research, you can find out the other side of the information. Not so with roundabouts, because the Department of Transportation does all of the studies. They hold all of the data, and there's no way to find the other side of the coin. You have to take their word for it, which is crazy.
Right. And why doesn't the Department of Transportation have somebody privately do a study? Mm-hmm. We all know it's because they have an agenda.
Right.
And this is their agenda. So you're right. I mean, if I came to you with a study of education, well, a private school or you can compare something to.
Right.
There's pros and cons out there to a lot of things, and you're right, city staff's not going to do that research. They're going to look at grant money or something like that and say, hey, they all talk to each other. Hey, there's free money. Let's go get it. What do we have to do? Put in a roundabout. Okay, how do we sell it to the public? Guess what they do? Grab the same stats, the same figures, so on and so forth. So that's what we're heading down now.
It's the same way that they sell Green Step or anything else. It's just with this, they can hide the facts a lot easier.
Or make them up.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know. They don't cite the studies in this. This isn't a study, whatever this is. That they call it a study, but it's really not. It's a
6-page summary of a study.
It's a summary of a number of studies, of 24 studies.
Yeah.
They did 24 studies, and they put the highlights in this paper, but we have no idea where the raw data is sourced.
Don't those residents on those roundabouts have a right to know that? Don't they have a right to know if they're a negative? If you're living by one of those, don't you have the right to know that's actually less safe right now than it was?
Right.
But they don't put that out there.
No, they don't. But they have this nice picture on the front page where they have this roundabout, and then they have plowed cornfields on all four corners. So you know that it's doing its job.
That must be 7 and 25.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be.
All right. Well, we know this show's a little shorter than normal, but we wanted to just kind of give you the roundabout, a roundabout way to talk about roundabouts, I guess. And coming to a city near you.
Well, we said at the beginning of this that you will come away with this with more questions than answers, and that's because they're not available. So the thing that you need to do is press the Department of Transportation for the raw data. When was it collected? Was this collected over a week, a month, a year? They list a number of years in here. Were they in succession? Were they, they don't tell us how any of this was gathered.
No, it was a predetermined outcome, is what it was.
So I would put some pressure. If this is something you feel passionate about, and you sense that if you hear they're putting one in your community, something like that, it puts pressure on the DOT to supply some facts, supply some figures, get you some data,
and certainly press your city council to do that.
Absolutely. I mean but they're not going to, so that's why you're going to have to do it.
They might if they get pressured to.
Well, that's true.
You never know.
You never know. Stranger things have happened.
They definitely have.
So, yes, anyways, roundabouts. That just proves to you that even someone as adept as us who study this stuff day in, day out, that we have made this our life's work, that even if we can't find the answers without, going to the DOT ourselves to try and get them, and we did it this way on purpose because we want you to see that it is not a process that is transparent.
Absolutely not.
And if that's what we're going for in government these days, all this talk about transparency, it needs to be transparent.
Well, I mean, when government's so big, so vast, in every nook and cranny of our lives,
right?
It's impossible to keep up with all this. It's almost virtually impossible.
Right.
But that's, again, why we're here. Now, if you got questions, email at us at
COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com.
If you want to check out the blog with our latest and greatest, including a great post from me on the city of Robbinsdale, you check that out at Jay?
COMMsolutionsMN.com.
Ha!
Yes.
I got him in this time.
You did. That's good. That is good. So, contact us. Get a hold of us. Ask us to come out and talk to you. We got tons of information about all sorts of things. We've been going across the state. We're going to keep going across the state until we have taught everybody everything we know. That's how we feel about it. Until we see local governments change and they start doing the right things and they start asking the right questions and doing the homework and we start seeing this ship righted. We are Community Solutions Minnesota because that's what we bring.
Translation, we'll never retire.
That's it. That's it right there. Job security. All right, guys. We appreciate you a whole bunch. So make sure you get out there, do your homework, email us your questions, anything you see going on in your cities as usual. Thank you for those of you that have done it. We love you, Minnesota. Have a good one and work hard. Bye.
Get too caught up